Welcome home. We are WNST, AM 1570, Towson, Baltimore. Baltimore Positive. We are going to be taking the Maryland Crab Cake Tour out on the road in April, doing a lot of really cool stuff in April. Because March has been I don't want to say quiet in February. I mean, after you lose an AFC championship game at home, and after you have this generational move that we're going to have new baseball ownership, and I might be eating a hot dog next to my employee in the Orioles press box at some point. I've just been sort of taking stock in all of this and getting ready for opening day. And to be really honest, the Ravens free agency, whether it's Queen going to Pittsburgh or whether it's Derrick Henry coming here, it's a little bit better than the Lamarathon was for me last year. But these are the good times. Luke and I are heading down to Sarasota. We're going to be doing some spring training stuff. Luke's going to be chasing the NFL owners meetings. I'm going to be waving across the pool to Chad Steele. But I'll be there doing my job, whether they allow me to or not. We're going to be in Florida for a little while, and then we're going to come back, and there's going to be opening day. We have all sorts of fun things for April, including Fadley's Fridays. We're going to be live. You ain't live anymore, Nasty. 2 to 5, I'm going to be live with Luke Jones each and every Friday that the Orioles are home. We're going to be down at Fadley's. All of that brought to you by the Maryland Lottery. I'll have scratch-offs, fresh ones to give away. Our friends at Window Nation are going to be there, 866-90 Nation. They do doors. There's a rumor about that. I'll be telling you more about that, as well as Jiffy Lube. And our newest sponsor, Liberty Pure Solutions, keeping the water clean here so that I can keep the engine clean. This guy provides me with a Cole roofing mug. In it is the Royal Farms coffee. I don't put fried chicken in my mug. I'm a little weird like that. The weather has broken. We've had a couple of nice days here. Lucas and I are going to be poolside in Sarasota and Fort Myers, sunning ourselves next week. And Bill Cole, it's been, man, dude, too long. Where have you been? What have you been? Are you doing insurance things in San Diego and stuff like that? What are you doing?
Yeah, no, I don't know. We've been trying to dodge raindrops and help people fix their roofs and build solar arrays in the meantime. So we've been
How's Joe Enoch
busy.
doing? Can I give a shout out to Joe Enoch,
Yeah,
my
yeah,
lifer
yeah.
pal?
We're gonna get him and you hooked up on here some point. He's
He's ducking me. He
wonderful.
ducks me. Joe Enoch
No,
ducks me.
he just loves to now he gets entry to the backyard, so he's just like, "Hey, Bill, what about this? And what about that? And what about?" So
That
he's
welcome to Joe's.
wonderful.
We're welcome to my
Yeah, he's
world for 30
wonderful.
years, you know?
He's wonderful like that.
What
Yeah.
if you bought a radio station? I remember that conversation he and I had back in 97. So Bill Cole does roofing. He's sort of backstage, especially when the documentary comes out later in the month, sort of one of my real friends in the real world who sort of came forth and forged all of this Baltimore positive stuff. Um, Dude, I get there's more people following us than have ever. I
Yeah.
promise you that. I get
Yeah.
people texting me. Mike Brillhart texted me about something Rob Harvilla said on my airwaves, and I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "I'm listening to your show. You're talking about me." I'm like, "Oh yeah, maybe I mentioned you the other day. I don't know." But so it's been a little while for you and me, and we haven't been together for a drink. We got together at Christmas time. You, me, Mike Rosenfeld.
Yeah, that
Um,
was nice.
we went
Yeah.
over to Nacho Mama's. We had some beverages. It was beautiful. But that's the last time we've talked. I think you've been on the show once or twice. It was all Ravens championship game and all of that.
Yeah.
This Oriole thing with the tectonic plates shifting and me having done Free the Birds, and dude, I'm doing this documentary, so I'm going through all these pictures of my childhood and my father and my mother, and I've laughed and I've cried and my wife's illness and all this crap. But I have never spent a minute since 2006 really believing that anybody else would own the team or that I could feel differently about it or be treated
Yeah.
differently. And the
Yeah.
thing that keeps coming to me, and I say it out loud, if it makes you turn me off and go listen to Jason Lockenfora bitch about something, fine. I don't ever remember going down there and having a good feeling. And I looked out the window at this 365 days a year for 19 years. Mike Flanagan was nice to me and would bring me in, and then I would be mistreated when I'm in there. I think if I give them any advice at all, be nice to me, be nice to everybody, because there's trauma, literally trauma in my life, real life trauma for me. And for a lot of people, not just losing or the price of things or bad things or coming down to the ballpark or however you would feel about the team, or if you love John Miller, whatever it was that turned you on it, it's imperative that the Cole family and daughters that don't know box scores maybe go down there at some point in the next 5 years and like it. I think it's really important for the city, Bill. We talk about a lot of things, but I want to wind you up on new ownership today, brother.
I think the benefit that David Rubenstein has is, well, one, the bar is really low, right? like like our expectation from the owner of the Orioles isn't very high. We don't have this expectation of them being
Like I
amazing.
heard the Haitian government's getting taken over again by thugs, and we
Right,
look at this and say, yeah, that's the way it is in Haiti. You know what I mean?
right,
No, like
right,
not
right,
just that's the way the Orioles are. And I
right.
wrote books on this, and every decision they ever made, including the born on third and thinks he hit a triple punk, sitting in front of people on Martin Luther King Day, writing a check and acting like you can't ask him questions. I mean, literally, the Kevin Brown incident last summer, they threw their broadcaster off for nothing for a month and
I
expected everybody like this happened. But my
Yeah,
last experience was being mistreated by a man who's in public relations with the Texas Rangers for 40 years, who had to deny me a press credential knowing it's wrong in the name of the Angelos family. That was my last experience 4.5 months ago on a night they were getting eliminated and swept in a playoff game. Like I like
right.
it can't be worse. It's got to be, to your point, it's got to be better. But I'm like,
One,
everybody's got a scar. Like, I don't know why did you stop going, dude? Like, you met me, you're about to blather on my
uh,
documentary about our friendship and this and that. Like, you were a real Oriole guy. Like when I met you 30 years ago, man.
my Oriole fandom is born out of an innate civic pride. Like, I don't really love the game of baseball. I go to baseball because they're our hometown team, so I root for them. When I was a kid, I liked baseball cards, so like that made a connection. And then there's a wonderful social aspect to baseball from a business networking or family time, or like it's just an easy thing to go to. Whereas taking your family to the Ravens game is sort of a different experience. Baseball, I think, other than the anxiety that people have around trying to park and then get into the stadium, once they're in the stadium, it's a very pleasant, like 3 hours to spend time with your family or friends or, coworkers or whatever,
Unlike at a
because it's
Toto concert when they're playing a soft song, you can talk during a baseball game, right? Like
correct,
literally,
correct,
like I mean
correct.
that sincerely. Don't
Yeah,
try to network with me at Toto or at the
right.
John Mayer solo. Like
That's
literally,
hard.
I
Yeah,
think it's a different. My wife and I don't go to Brian Adams to network. We go there to like be with Brian Adams. When you go to a baseball game, like you can still see if it's a slider. You can still stay with the game and have a peanut and a beer while we talk about your kids, family, vacation, life, real issues, insurance, whatever we need to talk about,
yeah.
right?
And football's
I
not that
miss that,
way,
dude. You're turning me
right?
on. You're getting me moist.
Yeah,
You
no,
know,
like football's not that
you're gonna
way.
make me want to move back downtown. Is what you're
I
gonna make.
understand. I
Yeah.
understand. Football's not in that way, right? It's a much
Yeah. Don't
more,
talk to me. It's third down, man.
yeah,
Get your head in.
just, you are part of the game, right? We're trying to be loud and cause false starts, and like that, there's obligations put on the fans, and there's a lot more drinking, and it's just gets a lot more out of control. But um I think the thing about Dave Rubenstein is, if you think about the exposure and experiences he has had, like he has such a wide breadth of knowledge of like things that work and things that don't work, uh bureaucratic government issues, but private enterprise, success or challenges, and he's just seen a lot. So
Is this a
inherent
Gilbert to Detroit? You've spent a lot of time in Detroit. I'm going to talk to
uh
Roosevelt about this too, because he's got a whole wing out in Detroit as well. You have been a part, and maybe pull back the curtain on what you do, because you run around the country with a bunch of do-gooders for the city. You don't brag about this, and I don't know why y'all don't talk about it more. You put a little thing up on LinkedIn that you went with the mayor and a couple of county executives to Bemidji to see like what they're doing. Richmond apparently is next on the agenda, but you go to these other cities, Austin, Texas, and say, what are they doing there? To me, the Gilbert thing in Detroit, I don't want to put that on Rubenstein, but if he comes on my show, And I wouldn't even know what that's like. Like if his PR guy says, of course he's going to come on the show. We'll do a crab cake at Fadley's. What day do you want to do it? We'll stop by. We bought the Orioles. We want you to. Your last name's Aparicio. Like we can't believe they treated you like garbage because they did. If that happens, I would talk to him about the city. I wouldn't even talk to him about who the center
Right.
fielder is or whether when are they going to start Holiday's clock. I would talk to Elias about that if they would let me, right? Like, I talked to you about Rubes and Solar and stuff,
My hope is that Rubenstein lets Elias do the baseball thing because Rubenstein is so focused on what the Orioles are as a community member
like Larry Lucchino was.
that
Like Larry
Elias
Lucchino
doesn't have to
was.
worry about it. Yeah, Elias doesn't have to worry about it. The Detroit thing is very different. Detroit is in a different place than Baltimore. Like
Not 20 years ago, was it?
So,
dude, I went to Detroit. I've spent a lot of time in Detroit. I was in Detroit recently. Like I've seen it go from despair and awful to better. I don't know what else to say. Better.
yeah, I don't think we have enough time to unpack that.
But I think Gilbert came in there to make it better. And 20 years later, at least he is a billionaire, can look at it and say, I made a difference, a dent. A dent. Look, dude, poor Covington's built down there, right? That's going to make a dent here. Like, whether we believe it or not, at some point it's going to come to life. I believe that.
I honestly, and this is probably not fair, and he might get mad at me for saying this, but like Mark Anthony Thomas, right? Uh, what's the name of that?
Greater Baltimore Committee, is
There you
that
go.
correct?
Thank you. GBC. Yeah. He has the opportunity to get us over the hump. Like our city, our people, David Rubenstein included, all of us, like we are gonna make this good in spite of anything. Like there are tower cranes in spite of anything. We're building stuff, we're doing great stuff, we're winning AFC championship, blah blah blah. We do all these things in spite of whatever friction is in front of us. That's part of the grit of Baltimore. That's who we are. So we're gonna do that. The question is, are we able to take away one or two of the friction items that really set us loose?
Crime.
Like, it's not just, yeah, I mean, yes, but it's not just
Institutional
like,
poverty. Let's start with that. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, poverty, which bleeds into the education system, which bleeds into crime, which
And
bleeds,
David Rubenstein understands a lot of these things and has said, I'm taking my $2 billion as a 70-year-old guy from here and buying the baseball team, not just to have a parade. I mean, we didn't bring Bloomberg in for this. There's just no way. Like, this is all part of the greater part of the harbor and the city and the infrastructure and literally the soul of the city. That's the word I'm using, the soul of the city.
Yes. No, I think it's going to
David
be
Rubenstein
amazing.
won't shy away from that. He's not going to run off to Nashville in boots and be a punk. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not. I don't think he's here for that. I don't think he's here to run from people like me. I think he's here to run toward people like me that know people like you. You know what I mean? Like literally.
He is a unicorn in the sense of like he has really solid government bureaucratic understanding of how they do business and how you get things done. But then he has the entire private equity Carlyle group, where he sees private enterprise and how they get stuff done. Getting those two to work well together is a real skill set, and he has that. And in order to run
Mayor Schaefer had that in order to get things done here 50 years ago from the inside and being elected. And in retrospect, he pushed things through that may or may not have been on, totally on the up and up for the betterment of the people. And he'd say, I did it because it was the right thing to do for the city.
Well, and in the absence of social media, you could do that. Today, there's a lot more transparency.
Well, we're
Doesn't mean
finding that
there's
out on the Inner Harbor Project, right?
right. Doesn't mean there's less corruption or it doesn't take a different form or there aren't different interests or different motives. All that stuff has to be managed. All I'm saying is if Rubenstein had experience with a company who nailed the marketing of releasing a new product at one point, he learned about that. He saw what works and what doesn't. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that if you completely disregard your customer, you're going to have a problem. So just the mere fact that he has all these experiences and he knows that we're going to treat the customer, at least acknowledge that they exist, because that's what I felt like was it got so far away from the customer because of all the TV crap and just all the crap that had gone on with the Orioles, that they just were so far away from trying to connect with 45,000 people every night that like it was there was no coming back, right? Like now I'm digging my heels in and I'm just
Well,
going to
you
be
quit on them. Yeah, I mean, you quit on them, and I'm sure you weren't pleased with how they treated me 20 years ago, or how they treat anybody, or how they treated John Miller, or just in a general sense. It never felt like a community organization. Like it felt like a scam because there was nobody in front of it ever, and I I was
and
far too close to it, Bill. You know what I
another
mean? Far too
right
close to it
and
to be the thing that I can tell you is I can tell you the truth. Like I can tell you the truth. I was close to it. I lived down there for 20 years. My employees in there. I've had an employee in there, embedded in there, every minute of every day from the beginning,
right
including myself until they threw me out for telling the truth. So like that's the way it was, right?
that
And
they
I
have
can't
this.
fathom it's the way it's. I keep saying Castro's Cuba. I keep saying, like, will there be a day when Putin's not running Russia? I don't know. We can't feel that right now, right? You can't feel that Haiti could be a democracy and stable, right? Like, you just don't feel like that could ever happen in this lifetime. I think that's where I got with the Orioles. And I think that's going to change quickly, to your point, but how to deodorize that and how to put a face on it, and change it dramatically. Because when Bisciotti came in to take over for Modell, and by the way, I watched the video he and I talking like 12 years ago. He actually talked about a lot of these things with me. Steve Bisciotti did in Florida. That it was a quiet transition, not rocking the boat, not firing Ozzie. And in this case, he didn't have to do anything with the baseball side. The Mike Elias side's like, he's not touching any of that. He's not firing
Right,
managers, not hiring
right,
players. He's not
right.
signing free agents. Maybe give some money to get us a pitcher in July to get us over the hump, or maybe it's $200 million for Henderson or for whoever it's going to be, Holiday, Burns, whoever they're going to sign. But there's a point in all of this where I'm wondering, when you buy something for $2 billion and you're a public figure and you're coming home to save the day, and people like me, smart people like me, I give myself credit for this, think you're Gilbert, think that you're not just buying a baseball team, that I'm not going to be asking you about the center fielder. I'm not going to ask you Jerry Coleman questions. I'm going to be finding like, what's the real play here? I mean, what's the play? Isn't like going out and swinging a bat and taking pictures, like padding your ego. If that's the play, then you're probably not going to be much better than Peter. If this is about David Rubenstein, then yeah, I would think this is about taking his all of this, that life experience that he's acquired since being at City College, and all of this wealth and all of this life experience. I mean, just knowledge, wisdom, and saying, how can I make the world a better place? Not how can I make a baseball team get a parade. And I can't fathom
Yeah,
that he's all that into that. You know what I
the,
mean?
right. The only other caveat I could put on it, or maybe it's not, it's more of a secondary pathway, is somebody also has to save baseball, right? Like baseball as a product has problems. So maybe, it also scratches an itch for him around the idea of, you know, how do we integrate more technology? What do we make, what is, and I don't know if he's
Well,
a
gambling is
experience
where
thing and all
the
that
sport
stuff.
is. When they get
Yeah.
together, it's gambling, it's streaming, it's getting the game in real time and being able to bet on it from here. Literally, that's their scam. I mean, that's their money, right? Like, and $15 beers and party packages. And I would think, before this is all over with, Bill, and this really speaks to the inclusive or exclusive part of it, where they say to you, you're going to give us as a team $500 a year, and the $500 is going to get you the games, and you're going to get the 4-pack family pack and the Adam Jones jersey and the bumper sticker. You're going to be a member of the club. And, they've done this with the orange carpet because they have so much space in these stadiums. Come down anytime you want, wander the upper deck if you're a member of the $1,200 club. You know what I mean? Or whatever that's going to be, because they want you to buy beer and popcorn. Like it's like a movie theater at that point. And the merchandising part of it, merch, like rock bands, I mean, they're figuring their business out, but their business is no longer, we're going to be siphoning $40 from the Cole family off their cable bill, and the daughters aren't even going to know what baseball is because this Masson thing's going to be on a tier where we're just going to siphon cable money, because that's their business. They've been scamming that for 30 years, ESPN, all of that. But now that cable's done and the regional sports network's done, to your point, they have a business problem. They really do. And they're not popular. They're not as popular as they think they are. And their arrogance, specifically in this market, as we've seen, is legendary. They're legendarily arrogant as people. Like, I can tell you that from my lifetime of work with them. There's always a rope. There's always a pay for play. There's always a, you stand over there and we stand over here. I mean, come on. We used the word big leaguing. You big league me. Big
Right.
league me. I mean,
Right.
that means you're a dick.
Right.
And quite frankly, one thing about me being thrown out the last 18 years, and I had beautiful people that I met in baseball, people that are still with me the rest of my, but I was there for all the steroid stuff, all the finger pointing, all the Peter Angelo stuff, all the diving under desks to keep the owner happy. And like, dude, I saw it all the last 18 years. I've been better off not being around baseball people. Like, you know what I mean? Like, to some degree, now I want to get back in, and I'm thinking, even Luke said to me the other day, how often will you go down there if they give you a pass? And I'm like, I said, it depends on how I'm treated. Same thing as you. Same thing as everybody. It depends. How often will you go to the games? Depends how much money I spend and how much fun I have, right? Like, literally, my daughters like it. Maybe I go back, but they need to make it so people, look, the nerds that go down there that have been there for 120 losses, me talking to nerds for 30 years, but they've had no chance to win. Like, that's cool. And if you're into sabermetrics and you're that person, and those poor folks I saw keeping score in the outfield last year, who clearly it's a lifestyle for them. But to your point, they've got a ways to go to win people. And all of this is in a bag because it has, as Deepak Chopra would say, I'll go deep on you. I'll go real deep. It has pure potentiality.
I think I overheard a conversation where I think I might have watched it or something. I don't know, but the conversation was all about, like, America is a country of like car loving people, but F1 was only famous outside of America. Netflix drops a series about it, 7 million people watch it, and now all of a sudden there's all these American F1 fans. And it's like, they did that with golf, they did it with tennis, like, there is something to the idea that if you introduced baseball as a sport to America today, I'm not sure it takes hold.
Oh, dude, my wife and I were out the other night, like literally, and we went out Tuesday night. We went to yoga and Planet Fitness shout out, and we went past 3 places in the Towson area where we turned a corner at 8 o'clock at night. Kids, fields, lights, lacrosse.
Sure, soccer,
Everywhere.
right.
Lacrosse everywhere. So what I'm saying to you is that is the D, right? I mean, especially in Baltimore, where they have a bigger problem with lacrosse here. I mean, Lacrosse Hall of Fame, Hopkins,
Right.
the Cradle, all of that stuff, right? The baseball thing here and Brooks Robinson is 2 generations removed now. My last name's Aparicio. It didn't mean anything to these creeps that own the team the last 30 years. Didn't mean anything, and it means a lot to me. I mean, it meant it. It's why I did Free the Birds. Like, I'm not some,
Right.
like, I wrote a book. I'm releasing it this month about my father and me and loving baseball and believing in all that bourgeois, all that community and all that stuff. But it built Camden Yards, and then I saw it with my own eyes what it could do. I think we've seen it with football here, how it can bring people together. It can be a magic elixir. But to your point, why can't the Orioles be to Baltimore what the Cardinals are to St. Louis, what community based, and to Major League Baseball, like the Colorado Rockies don't mean anything in Colorado. The Arizona Diamondbacks don't mean they've been trying to keep that team down in Tampa
The
and
Tampa
Miami.
Ray, right? Tampa Rays. I mean, Christ, they
Miami.
win and they can't even. Yeah.
Miami's won 2 World Series and they can't like like for me,
But
I don't know what it is, but this community has the ability to do that, but it better involve African Americans too, in a way that
well,
it
right.
never has for here. And that's something that anybody should be able to say out loud. Just go down there and look around.
So there is, I think the missing piece for baseball, honestly, is the connection to the players. Like, like the reason F1 gets all the Drive to Survive thing is because it's like behind the scenes. It's like it's like one of them housewives celebrity train wreck shows, right? Like people, it's the new form of soap opera, right? And it's wrapped around this sport. And then there's these so fundamentally I have the human struggle, right? And the charisma of the people, and oh, I like that guy, oh, I hate that guy, and you get that. Then okay, is it the car thing, is it the speed thing, is it the technology thing, is it the big business thing, like then you get these other little ticklers that reinforce the interest. But the interest stems from, I need Joe Flacco. I need Lamar. I need Ray. I need Ed Reed. These are people that, for whatever way they do it, you are able to create a connection, right? It isn't because I think the Ravens are out in the community more than the Orioles, but I still don't think that's the thing, because maybe football just has that they have the exclusivity of there's only
Football has a
16,
tribal thing.
17
Football is
games.
tribal.
we
That's what
have
they've tapped into.
we have all week to talk about what happened last Sunday before we get another taste of the drug, right?
That's the train wreck effect.
Yes.
Yes, yes, yes.
So that's good for football. Baseball is like, I have one day and then we're back at it. Sometimes we play two in a day and da da da. And I don't know. And maybe other people don't have this problem because they stayed connected and they know who the players are. And
But 4 hours a night's a lot of your time to
the
care about
season, right?
some billionaire kid from Alabama who can hit a baseball, right? Like
The
to some
season's
degree, it's
long
like
enough.
my kid's
Yeah.
playing soccer, my kid's playing lacrosse. I got a movie to see. Brian Adams is in town, and like I always had those distractions, but my last name was Aparicio, and I was born into a family where my father loved the Orioles, and it was a heartbeat of my family. It was a heartbeat of what I did. It's why I built this place. And 35 years later now, I sit here and try, and I do question the value of all of it. I question, especially after getting thrown out for 18 years, like, what did I miss out on? Not
Okay,
much,
but
really,
what
being
else?
there. What am I going to miss out on if I'm not there on the ground floor of this? I don't know. I am in the ground floor of this because I've had the whole history, wrote the Peter principles, and I'm the one guy that can stand up and say, unlike any of the rest of them, I never took their money and kissed their ass. Never, never. Like they didn't even pay the bill. I tried to kiss their ass and they didn't pay the bill. So I would say, like, from a being bought in, I'm bought in. I'm on the ground floor, and I'm on the ground floor as a reporter saying, what are you offering? What are you doing? I have nothing but questions. I don't know that I'm going to get any answers in the modern era, but I think they're what they're doing publicly and whatever they orchestrate, because he's rich enough, he's going to orchestrate. He's going to have his own version of Chad Steele and Greg Bader or whatever. Whether that's a better person than Chad Steele or Greg Bader, I hope so, because I've met those guys. But I would say from a public persona, from when this thing pops and they have a press conference, whether they let me in, out, who's asking the questions, whatever, the answers they give and the front they put and the advertising they do and the people they hire and how they treat me and you and everybody else is going to make all the difference in the world. And Rubenstein knows that. He's a really smart guy. But the play here, to me, still isn't about selling tickets in baseball games. It's a much bigger play for him bringing Bloomberg and these other folks in to say, how are we going to use this $600 million? How are we going to get people back? Like all of these really big questions that the nerds just want to know. Are you going to sign Gunnar Henderson? Like when I go to talk about baseball,
Right.
people spend money. That'll show us. Just show the investment. Yeah,
Right.
okay, they're going to win. Great. And then they're going to lose.
But
And the Yankees are going to have more money. And so, and I know all of that because I'm 55 years old and I've done this professionally for 30 years. So What's the real story here? I hope they win a couple of World Series, and that's important and all that. But what they do to fumigate, deodorize, and get me to forget all the awfulness that was the awfulness and go back and pay current prices with my wife, pull our credit card out, and literally fork over whatever the number is to be in the family, in the community, for to have the games on television, whatever that is. Right now, it's $1,500 a year because my wife gets cable. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
sort of baked in. Wasn't baked in if I had Comcast. I got Verizon, right? So like, you don't even do you even have the games? Who's your cable provider? Do you have the
Yeah,
games at your house?
no, Comcast. So
I mean, right off the bat, you're not even going to have the games in your house, so you don't even have a connection to it. They didn't even make you pay a couple bucks a month to do that. They can't
yeah.
get you to do that. You're off the reservation, literally.
What, like, what else in your life? Something you said a little bit ago about your love comes from, you know, your history with the game. Like, what else in our lives did our parents' generation love that hasn't changed, that we are willing to spend 2 grand, 10 grand, whatever you end up spending at the
Not
cost
to mention get on an
today
airplane and go to
relative to
Chicago to
what,
see him play at
right,
Wrigley Field,
right.
or
But what
whatever the
else?
cost of the playoff tickets are going to be. Even if you don't invest, you want to go to the playoff game or whatever. Like, I love the
Like,
Orioles. I've always loved the Orioles, but like these last 25 years, man, like I'm 55. Like, there's been a lot of things that I fell off the bandwagon with, like the NBA. I don't, just don't watch. The
right.
NHL, the creep that owned the team that lied to me for years and years and years. I'm just done. I'm done. I'm done. Yeah, I ran road trips down there, ran bus trips, kissing their ass. They want to move the team to Virginia. They're not. The owner's a liar. Like, so I don't like people that lie to me, Bill. I've known you 30 years. You don't lie to me. I don't lie to you. It's part of the fundamental part of our relationship. It's why we love each other. And,
Right.
it's hard to love people that have lied to you or mistreated you. I'm just saying with the baseball thing, I'm here hanging on and I want to go back. But what difference does it make if I go back if nobody else goes back? What are they going to do to get you back? And I'll tell you, the first thing that's different is that the game's not even on in your kitchen, dude. The game's not even on in your living room right now. So the game's not coming to you. And the way that F1 doesn't come to me, but you're in a car family. Your family loves cars. So maybe they didn't love it from the beginning, F1, but once they got it, they're like, oh, I get it. If you're a family that loves sports and you love Baltimore and your whole family's got a lacrosse stick and didn't play the game, like girls
Right.
played lacrosse, boys played lacrosse, girls didn't play softball, boys didn't play baseball, barely know the rules, going down to a ballpark and worshiping Gunnar Henderson. I don't know. I don't know. They better figure
You
this
know how
out,
you
though.
do it. You know how you do it, or this would be my pitch for Rubenstein. Like, dude, you need to run as many games through that stadium as you can. Like, I need the UMBC baseball team to play a game there. I need the Maryland team to play a game there. I need local high schools to play games there. I need local youth leagues to get to come down and play games on that field. Like, why else would people go there? Like, they don't go. There's nothing there. There's nothing to do. It's not the core group are people that love the game because the game hasn't changed. So the history, your connection point is the game. So all the parents who are taking their kids to the batting cage 3 times a week throughout the whole winter and are just doing the baseball thing, like, you have to build connection points. Bring the college team in, bring the high school teams in, let them play games on that diamond. Get people into that stadium. Like, go to the indoor soccer model, right? Where, okay, listen, guys, if all your mom and dads buy tickets to the game, you get to come in and you get to play a 3 inning game before the Orioles start. Like, go to that model. Get the community back in the stadium.
They're not going to let anybody run on that field, but I'll let you dream. Bill Cole is here. He is Cole Roofing. He is Gordian Energy. He does good things in the community as well. The inspirer of all things Baltimore positive. Going. By the way, next Wednesday, the 20th, my wife's 10-year anniversary of her diagnosis, awful stuff happened March 20th. So Appreciate you sticking with us. 10 years. They said it would never last,
Yeah, decade.
Bill, but 25 years of WNST, and there's a cool little documentary we put together with Blue Rock Productions. And my pal Greg Landry came to me, and so I'm appreciative. I'm appreciative of you participating as well. Hey, when we get together again, we'll talk some football, all right? Because I mean, I know you had something to say about Patrick Queen going to Pittsburgh and the King Henry coming here, right?
Just makes me throw up in my mouth every time a guy takes the purple off and puts the black and gold on, but it's fine.
Doesn't happen often.
It's the world. Yeah, I think next time or very soon, like we need some sunshine and we're gonna be outside and things are gonna be, looking up.
Sarasota beckons for me and Lucas Jones. We're going to be going down to Sarasota, watching some Orioles baseball next week. I'm looking forward to that as well. I've never seen the stadium in Fort Myers, the Red Sox, so we'll see that. So if they're not going to put the games on mass, and damn it, I'll go watch the games myself. Falling in love all over again with baseball. I am Nestor. We are WNST AM 1570 Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore positive.